Penguin Logistics sure is an interesting place, especially with all the Sancta they have roaming around there. Exushai, Sora and of course Mostima. But wait, do Sancta usually have black horns and a tail? They don't. And that's why today we will take a look at this fan favorite character. There's a lot to unravel, and that's why today I will be joined by a group of researchers from over on r/Arknights. That subreddit and all of them will be linked in the description. Now, let's get started. If we normally talk about one specific operator, we do that by going through their whole life, analyzing everything they have done, said and thought, but Mostima is a special case, because we know very little about her. That means we have to take everything we know, piece it together in the correct order, and make it hold together with our own interpretations. That's why this video is called Law and Theory. Mostima once was a more or less regular citizen of Laterano. Back then, she spent a good chunk of her time with a younger Exushai and her big sister, or Nesan Xushai. Most of the information of her life back then we can take from her Epoche skin, the skin series which gives us outfits from our operators' pasts. Let's read real quick what it says. Arrivals, Spellbreaker. A Laterano dress with corresponding weapons. Generally, only Sancta who have presided over the ceremonies are allowed to wear it, and Mostima seems to have quietly snuck out with this dress. The two weapons she is holding there are the black lock and the white key, the things she still carries around and uses in her second and third skill. In Laterano, she held the role of the Keeper of Lock and Keys, as her banner is called. Her position was pretty important, as the skin tells us that only someone basically hosting a big-ass ceremony can carry all that stuff. Now for what the ceremony actually is about, maybe it has something to do with opening the gate to another world? It would make sense using the images of Lock and Key, and those little fuckers coming out, and that one big fucker coming out. But let's not put too much of our power into analyzing that stuff. What's way more important than that is the information that Mostima wore that outfit when she snuck out of Laterano. And obviously those weapons also, as she still has them. This is the information we have to hold on to. Mostima sneaked out of Laterano. You only sneak out of a place you either are wanted in or not wanted in. According to the story of Code of Brawl, Mostima was part of an accident. She pointed her gun at her captain. That's what's mentioned by the story, but it's very likely that Mostima did even more than that, quite possibly also shooting and injuring her badly. There is speculation about who that so-called captain is. Many people were suspecting it to be Nesan Xushai. But that's not important right now. What's really important is that this was the incident which caused her to become a fallen Sancta, as she is, you know, a Sancta with horns. However, this was not the reason to why she left Laterano, as in her files she is still listed as a Laterano citizen and still works together with them, as she has a supervisor assigned to her, right now this Phoenix woman, and carries out missions for them, as can be seen during the last cutscene of Chapter 8. We don't know though if that's due to the goodwill of the Laterano Notarial Hall, or maybe just because she is the current Keeper of Lock and Time and it's the possession of that super powerful equipment which keeps her safe. Her whole position in that regard is pretty odd. Same goes with her connection to Penguin Logistics. She seems to have a very loose connection to both, as she comes and goes, only occasionally reporting in. It seems like the contract with Emperor only exists so that Laterano has an official address they can refer to when dealing with matters regarding Mostima. This is very interesting, as it brings up the age-old, or a few months-old question of Emperor's true power and intentions. It's not normal that a penguin employs 3 angels, one of them fallen, a wolf assassin and a tomboy cow. Anyway, one thing about Mostima's skin still should be mentioned. This right here is her very shortly after becoming fallen. As we can see by her wings, they are not yet as destroyed as in Code of Brawl. According to Exia, her Sancta features are slowly disappearing, and them being relatively intact here tells us a lot about the timing of everything. Now, that was pretty much everything important about her past. Let's talk about her present. There is a lot of pain hiding behind her teasing bison, wanting to eat good food all the time, and that vree smile. In order to get deeper into that, let's combine lore and gameplay for a moment. Her whole thing is time alteration. Her skills and her talent are used to slow down enemies. Of course, since making your enemies go faster would be kinda stupid, innit? According to dialogue though, she is also able to have her own time flow faster. I think that's the best way to describe that. Faster or slower, Mostima definitely does not experience the flow of time as we do, and this is not due to the devices. In her event, she gives the white key to the dungeon master, but still acts like she always does. Quite possibly, her constant smiling is an indicator of her trying to cope with living in a constant reality marble, or maybe it's just because of all the terrible stuff she has seen during her travels. Because she has been around a lot, and let me tell you, most of Terra is hell. Now, after having given you as much information about her as possible, let's finally talk about the most interesting thing regarding one of the most interesting characters. Is Mostima a Sancta or a Sarkas? The answer I can give you together with my co-researchers is one of the most complicated answers I have ever given. Yes. And now the long answer. It is very important that all of us are aware of the fact that Mostima becoming the way she is an ongoing process. A relatively well known actually, as the term Fallen Sancta is casually used by those who know it when referring to Mostima. The process is initiated when pointing a gun at another Sancta. The only other example we have right now for that is Executor, who actually killed at least one other Sancta. He was able to stop his process though, most likely to the device attached to his halo. It definitely has started though, as his halo turned black and his wings are hanging down. Mostima wasn't able to stop it, and it got to the point of her having both Sancta and Sarkas features. The progression of the process between these two images seems to be very weak, as in the around 4 years between them not much changed. This might be due to Mostima's time-altering capabilities. Anyway, people who don't know her personally usually do not know whether she is a Sancta or a Sarkas. Her status has halted right in the middle between the two conditions. I intentionally call it a condition, because everything we discussed brings up the question of the true nature of angels and devils in Arknights. If the wings and halo can appear and disappear just like that, same with the horns and tails, can we even call that a racial feature? Shouldn't it rather be a status effect that's affecting one certain group of people? Sancta and Sarkas are polar opposites to each other, and that's what makes them so similar. Both are based on mythical creatures, both are very good at using originium-based firearms, both are naturally prone to arts, their combat capabilities are very similar. I mean, the things that Mostima is summoning in her E2 art is basically the same thing as Surta is using to fight. But most importantly, both groups stand symbolically for two different things: good angels and evil devils. But there's people standing between them, like Mostima and, to a certain degree, Executor. Going by the similarities and the flow of their physical features, I will from now on support the following thesis within the academic side of the Arknights community. Sancta, Sarkas and the Fallen Ones all aren't races, but all members of the same race, with varying physical traits. I call them Advanced Race of Special Entities, or short, Rs. The name is subject to change. While most members of the Rs either appear fully as Sancta or Sarkas, there's a lot of different variations of Rsters, all of them moving somewhere on the Rs scale. It's kind of like High School DxD, with devils, angels and fallen angels, all being very similar members of the occult world, pretty easily switching their affiliation. All of this is definitely sounding very weird to you, but let's leave the stupid jokes aside for a moment. I genuinely believe what I just said. Even the Laterano coat of arms shows both a halo and horns. Yes, it's all coming together. I am very excited while talking about this, because if this is true, it's definitely gonna be relevant to the main story. Amir, our protagonist, has been chosen to become the future king of fiends, aka leader of all Sarkas, by her predecessor, Theresa. For that, she transferred her status of king of fiends to her. The whole deal of Sancta and Sarkas thing not being racial, but a status, could explain why a bunny girl could be chosen as a successor. Essentially, Amir's ears are not shaped the way they are because they are donkey ears, but a representation of Sarkas' horns. And during her fight with Patriot, Amir did spawn a halo over her head, which also to me means that all those features can be changed with enough effort and power. She basically moved from there to there on the Rs scale. The Rs theory would also explain a very important scene in chapter 8, where Kashtche, was incredibly surprised and didn't understand the fact that a Countess, a bunny girl, has the power of the King of Fiends. But let us stop before we go too deep into that rabbit hole, or donkey hole, or demon hole. It doesn't matter which hole you want to be in, cause the meaning of Amia being a chimera and the arse role of King of Fiends is something which I will discuss in a future video. I have to repeat myself, it is indeed all coming together. I love this game. But yeah, so to return to the initial question of Mostima's race, she is not a Sancta or a Sarkas, she is both. On the arse scale, she represents the middle. Also, she is definitely not a dragon. She's dragging her blue tongue across your face. Mwah. Oh, but before we end, there's also a theory about Mostima brought to you by fellow Dr. Dio's opinions, which is way simpler than all of that and might explain Mostima's whole existence a bit better. She is just a reference to this Yu-Gi-Oh card. Thank you for watching, and big thank you to the brave doctors over on r/Arknights. Everyone and everything is linked in the description. So, I hope I will see you next time, and cheers!